This is Top Shop Podcast.
Shop Podcast.
Top Shop Podcast.
Podcast for automotive service business owners by Paul Donahue.
All right. Hey, today's podcast, we got Josh Ingram, Colchin Automotive in Arvada, Colorado. How long has the shop been there, actually, Josh?
Yeah, so this June actually is our 40th year in business. Founded in 1984. Todd Colchin, right out of Colorado State University, decided that he wanted to fix cars for a living and started a shop. And here we are almost 40 years later. It's awesome.
Wow. So yeah, I wanted to mention to everybody listening that Josh is the GM there. Todd, obviously 40 years, he's kind of wanting to pass the ball. And I see this in a lot of shops and businesses just in general, is the owners get ready to retire and they're like, let's try to sell it. And they're like, why don't we sell it to the person that we know that knows how to run it, which is the person that's been there for a long time. So there's a company down in Texas right now, we're doing his website, and he went to work for this shop for 18 years. The only marketing they did was at their church. So he's got to, get the website. He's got to do it all. He's got to really wants to reach out digitally and get found. So, but we do see this a lot. And at Top Shop Podcast, we are on a mission to get 100 shop owners and record them before they retire. We found out there's a lot of shop owners that are retiring. And what they're doing is they're taking all this experience and knowledge with them. So if any of you people are listening and you know of a shop owner that's been in business over 10 years and he's looking to retire, please go to Top Shop Podcast and let us know. Because if we get it recorded, then we take all this experience and expertise and we record it for posterity. So Josh, you have been 30 years in the industry, right? Yourself?
Yeah, it's been a great journey for sure.
Well, how did you get started? So Todd got out of college, decided he liked to fix cars, and he opened a shop. Here we are 40 years later. So, how did you actually decide to get into this?
To be flat honest with you, I got myself into so much trouble as a young individual. I ended up dropping out of high school, living on the streets, doing all the wrong things, ended up doing some jail time. So when I started in the workforce, there were two industries that really didn't look at your criminal record, and that was construction and automotive. My father was always in construction, and so I wanted to make a left turn from that and try my own thing. So automotive was the route that I went, and started with a small shop in Louisville, Colorado, as a maintenance guy, lube tech, sweeping floors, anything I could do to just create an income.
Wow.
And so fast forward a few more years, I was in a Ken's and Leslie BG Products training course, and another young lady was in there that was a service advisor for Todd at the time. Mm-hmm. She and I hit it off and chatted and kind of went our separate ways. And I was sitting at home one day and not really feeling good about life. And she said, "Hey, we have a position open. Would you like to come interview for this service advisor position?" And I said, to be quite honest with you, I'm not doing anything right now. So what the heck?
Right.
Went down, met Todd, interviewed him. He interviewed me. I think it was either that night or the next night. He called me up and said, "Hey, you're a little rough around the edges, but I want to give you a shot if you want to come in." And so I did. And I had a earring in my ear the size of a bull ring. And I remember him telling me that he said, "I don't have anything against tattoos or piercings, but that earring might weird some customers out." So I immediately went into the shop bathroom, took that puppy out, cleaned myself up a little bit, and made myself presentable. And here we are, 24 years later down this road. And it's been incredible considering where I started and a lot of the obstacles that I had to overcome.
Yeah. And congratulations for overcoming them. A lot of us do not have pristine backgrounds, especially when we were teenagers. So I grew up in Hoodlandville, Ohio. Ohio has more delinquents than any other state in the union. So I'm not going to go into my past, but hey, what I hear is you had desire. So this just came up just recently when I was doing a town hall meeting with my staff. So there is no direct correlation proven ever between someone's grades in school and success in life. They have exhausted these studies again and again and again. They don't do them anymore because they come up with the same result. They cannot find any correlation with a straight A student with success in life. The main deciding factor was attitudinal desire.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Doesn't it?
If you've
that's
why
you got
a desire to do something, go.
Yep. That's why you got billionaires that can't spell or anything. They know math, they know numbers, but they never even graduated high school. There are quite a few billionaires that are like that. So you really had the desire, to do something with it. And due to your past, you were like, okay, do I do construction? I do auto. And auto, I don't even know if you thought about it back then, but it has a much better earning capacity and now that techs are getting in shorter and shorter supply. When I was going back to high school in 1980 and 81, and we had a mechanic shop class, in high school, like they all did in Ohio. And you would have said, hey, by, 2020, you can earn $100,000 plus as a car mechanic. You'd have looked, people would have given you the deer in the headlights look, like.
Oh, yeah.
But you can, master mechanics do that. So what were some of the key milestones or turning points in your career? Well, that was one of them. I mean, a lot of times they ask these questions and you've already answered them. So actually, the biggest probably turning point you just said was meeting Todd and interviewing with him, and he said, hey, I think you're a little rough around your edges. I'm going to give you a shot. And I'm sure Todd is glad that he did.
I sure hope so. He really helped me
well,
achieve
he kept you for 30 years. So.
No, and he's a phenomenal business owner, has a phenomenal business mind. And so his goal was then and still is to hire young and train, growing our own crops. So that's really allowed us to keep the median age of our shop where we want it to be, because it's true that our shop is aging out. We've got a lot of people within the organization that are upper 50s, low 60s. Mm-hmm. So it's really our time to turn the till and make sure that this next crop is ready to go. As you mentioned earlier, the technician shortage is no joke. And there's two different schools of thought on that. A lot of shop owners face is, do you go find existing talent that has experience ready to plug and play, or do you go the other route like we've always gone and work with the tech schools and bring kids in, help them up through the ranks, help them grow, help them tool up, education, everything along the way that they need to become who they want to be. It takes more time. It costs a little bit more money on the front end. At the end of the day, though, the return on investment can be just absolutely awesome.
Right. It's a two-edged sword. I've got clients that are successful shop owners that have done it both ways. So I got one down in Destin, Florida. He's doing very well. He's at the top of Google for all of his search terms. He's very happy. He had to install 2 more phone lines and hire somebody else. But when I asked him about the techs, he said, I poached him. He said, I work on BMWs and Mercedes. So guess where I went? I went to the BMW and the Mercedes dealer, and I just told him how much you're making. I found out who the good mechanics were, and I just paid them more. He says, my payroll is outrageous, but he turns the cars. But there's a two-edged sword to that. Now, another guy comes along later, guess where he can poach his from, so your approach, and that's what I want to ask you about is, that's one of my questions. It's one of the most important questions I ask in these podcasts. How do you find, hire, train, and retain top techs? So your method is the slower, riskier, because, you can come and train them and they leave. But like somebody quite well known in this industry has said, I'd rather train them and have them leave than hire them and they not learn anything and stay. So your shop's method is a longer way to go, but it provides good returns. So if I'm going to ask you the same question I ask everybody, what is the main way that you guys find, hire, and retain techs? How would you going to answer me?
Find is number one. We work closely with our local community colleges and the vocational schools.
Okay.
We sit on the board of advisors for the local vocational school.
Oh,
so
wow.
we're able to really get in.
So you're really active.
Interact with these kids and get to know them. And then I've done judging for the skills competition.
Oh, wow.
Skills USA is a major player in the game. And you're able to really see the cream rise to the top on these skills challenges. And when you're a judge, you're interacting with 25 to 30, maybe even more kids at a time.
Wow. Really getting you get to see their talents right up front, man. Dude, that's smart.
But it's so cool. I mean, it's smart, but it's almost a no-brainer. Now, I can see a lot of owners or managers going, well, where am I going to find the time to do that? That is an investment side. But if you're going to find who you want to find, I would rather spend some time with somebody and ask them a few questions about themselves, interests, hobbies, likes, dislikes, and go from there. I can train, I can teach, I can mentor, but I've got to have the attitude and the aptitude on the front end to know that this is a person that I want to invest in. And doing the skills competition is a great way to do it. Sitting on the advisory board, going to the meetings, seeing what the curriculum's like, and being able to have a voice and an influence in that is such a huge, huge piece of the puzzle. So that's fine. Retention, that's it, Paul. Retention is the $1 million piece.
Right.
Culture,
after you find them. So
culture is the biggest piece.
Your first part is hiring. And instead of like, I hear, oh yeah, get active in your community. No, you have direct involvement. You're on the boards, you're doing the judging. That's what you call community involvement. So when I say community involvement, that's it. So that's how you find them, and that's a great way to find them. But once again, you're paying that price to take that time. I mean, shop owners have got to run a shop. So it's either the shop owner or shop owner's head manager or whatever has got to go do this, for them. So now you found them, very smart way to find them. And then now how are we going to retain them?
Culture is number one. I do honestly believe it's the biggest buzzword. It seems like right now in the industry, everybody talks about culture, lots of classes on culture. It all comes down to creating an environment that as you're mentoring this young person, they don't want to leave that environment. Yeah, the guy down the street may pay him another $1 an hour or housing assistance or whatever their benefit package is, but you've got to create the environment that they don't want to leave. And that includes team camaraderie, eating together, sitting down and having meals together.
I was just going to ask if you do that. I'm hearing this from lots and lots of shop owners, and I've been promoting it on the podcast, and I'm going to promote it, free info that I put out on the internet. Family that eats together stays together. So I've got lots and lots of shops that say, hey, every Friday or every Wednesday at noon, we shut the doors. We either order lunch in, or I got quite a few of them that say they go to Sam's or Costco, buy the burgers and dogs, and they just grill out, and everybody sits down and just has a nice lunch, together. And that's important for culture. So yeah.
And there's a lot of different vehicles out there. Like one thing that we use is we have a really robust rebate program from Ford Motorcraft. So all the parts that we buy through this Ford Motorcraft program, we get a loaded card in the mail with our rebate money. And so we take that rebate money, and that's how we buy breakfast for the crew every Friday morning.
Oh, you do
that's
the breakfast, okay.
Lunches, all the fun things that we do come out of that rebate program. So there's a lot of different vehicles and mechanisms out there that shop owners can use to help offset the cost of those cultural building adventures. Even taking the team out to play putt-putt golf, or taking the team out to go go-kart racing.
That's it.
Taking the team out to go through an escape room. Whatever you use to keep that team unity together outside of the shop walls, there's different mechanisms that can be used to offset those costs in a lot of different areas. It's pretty cool when you start looking around.
Yeah, you've given me some great, info to pass on to other ways on social media and stuff like that too. So yeah, putt-putt's a great idea. Go-karts, that's a blast, Escape room. I lived in Panama City Beach, or a tourist area, for 30 years. So I used to go to the go-kart tracks all the time when I lived in Daytona. Then I moved up to Panama City Beach, and they have go-karts tracks in almost in every corner, so loved going to them. Escape room, that's another great idea. And your idea for breakfast, I haven't heard this one before. What a great idea. Y'all get together for breakfast before you open the shop.
Yeah,
right?
Well, most of the time it's around 9 o'clock our time, so we've already kind of got things lit off.
Okay.
But we schedule accordingly that we can sit down and have that time. One of my big things is we really don't like to talk shop during those breakfasts. It's talk about us as people, what we're doing for the weekends, what did we do to wrap up the week. It's not a shop meeting.
Oh, right.
It's a time to eat and enjoy and just kind of let the steam out at the end of the week. Did we have a great week? Did we not? Do we need to have a shop meeting to address some things? It's really that time to spend together, like you said, as a family. It has to be a family vibe in there. We laugh so hard during those breakfasts. Sometimes some of the stories that come out of there are just incredible.
I'll bet.
It's a lot of fun.
That's one of the best answers I've had to that question in my podcast so far. So thanks. That's a really good one. That's a lot of stuff to feed on. So yeah.
We'd like to get our smokers together and just do a big thing of ribs. A lot of us at the shop have smokers.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we get
like those eggs things, or green eggs.
Yeah. We do some briskets or bacon, or we do all kinds of stuff just to, we all work very hard and we spend a lot of time away from our families. And so you've got to come together and just enjoy your work days.
Sure. You got a third of your life is work, a third is sleep, and a third is family. So I think there's a lot of owners that, hey, these are great ideas, but they don't actually implement them. So like taking the time to take the whole team to a putt-putt. Do they get to bring their spouses and girlfriends, or is it just the guy? Is it just the team? Oh, you encourage?
No, we encourage.
So that way it's all, okay. So boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, kids. Okay, so let's all go to the putt-putt golf course on a Saturday night or Friday or whatever, and you guys foot the bill and everybody just laughs and has a good time. That's awesome. So actually putting this stuff, so just, really good evidence that when you actually do these things, that they really, really work. So retentions, most of your techs, have they been there for a while? I already know the answer to the question, but
a long time, long time.
Because because every time an owner goes through training or whatever, you have to think of the time and the expense of that, and just the hiring process itself. I mean, I hire all the time. I hate it. I can't stand HR. people tell you, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. They don't know their, what, from a hole in the ground. So to weed through them and have my HR read through. So yeah, it's really a big thing to do. So by taking this investment and doing these things, doing the breakfast, doing the lunches, the outings, that's the cement that helps hold the 1/3 of these people's lives together. And they don't want to go to another shop. I've had a lot of shop owners say, oh yeah, I lost this guy $1 an hour. This other guy in the shop paid him $1 an hour. Well, there's a reason for that. You know?
And that's, you got to be careful, because there are other facilities that do have great cultures in place, training programs, tooling assistance. So you run a big risk by letting that person fly, because you don't know that your competition doesn't have as good a culture as you do. So you've really got to up the game. And like one of my young guys right now, he's been with us about 3 years, came out of a technical college. We offered him toolbox assistance. So we found a really nice toolbox for him online. We foot the bill for the toolbox, and then over the period of time he pays us back on that toolbox, he completely paid that toolbox off in 2 years.
Wow.
It was incredible. Now he's got a beautiful toolbox with tools. So that's another thing that owners can put into place, is little assistance programs to help these younger people get ready to go. I mean, the cost of living nowadays is out of control. Housing is out of control. You got to pay high prices for everything. So the more that you can do to help these younger people, the more you're putting that bond in place and going, no, I got your back. I'm going to help you with whatever needs to be helped with.
Yeah. So preaching to the choir, because I lived in Dillon, Colorado, which I'm in right now, recording this, trying to catch the last of ski season. So Dillon's at 9,200 feet. Woohoo! So, and it's like 20 degrees outside, which I love. And my window's open, by the way, right there. So I love the cold. So yeah, but like places like this, people can't afford to live here.
Right.
A 1,000 square foot apartment is like $2.5 grand a month. I mean, you can't afford that, So the mountain towns really well. You're just down in Arvada. So what trends or developments do you see that's shaping the future of the aftermarket auto repair industry?
Technology is, I think, the biggest tidal wave that we've got coming.
Right.
Everything from full electric vehicles to ADAS systems, and that, honestly, kind of circling back just a little bit, that's one of the benefits of hiring the younger crowd, is they're so technology driven. They grew up on technology. They eat, sleep, and breathe it. The fact that my young apprentice can go to his phone and find an answer in a matter of seconds is incredible. So their ability to work with this new technology is a great advantage for this next generation. Whereas the previous generations, they know how to throw wrenches and they know how to, make a car really run correctly. Controversially, the younger crowd, they can program computers, they can update softwares, they can honestly speak to these new cars in a way that the older technicians can't. So you've got to look at it from a couple different lenses, but technology is definitely the biggest wave that I see is going to challenge some facilities. And education is going to be paramount, because the technology is coming. Great. How do we educate on that technology? But there's a lot of fantastic organizations out there. Auto Care Alliance.
Yep, I just saw you at the Auto Care Alliance at the Vision KC. So thanks for stopping by the booth and saying hi, Josh. I do appreciate that. And by the way,
of course,
if you're an auto repair shop owner and you're listening to this and you have not heard of Milwaukee, MWACA, or the Vision KC, please go and look it up. Get on it, because Sherry Hamilton that runs that, she knows that a lot of these trainings, she took over Vision like 20 or 30 years ago, and she's just done phenomenal things with it. And one of the first things she did was she removed the sales out of these training programs. People don't want to go to a training program to hear a sales pitch on some product or service. They want trained. So I want to get in on training for digital marketing, and it's not going to be easy. I know what I got to do. So she will allow me or anyone else 5 minutes at the very end of a 3-day or class thing or 9-hour class thing to float your own boat for a second. But when you go to Vision to get training, you're getting training by some of the best people in the industry. So everybody I talked to at Vision, I asked them, is this your first time? Have you been coming? And I never heard a negative word from one person. So if you're listening and you haven't been to Vision, or you've heard about it but you haven't gone, get on a plane, drive, do whatever, go. And you won't regret it, because not one person I talked to regretted it. I said,
did you see any of the stats from the final wrap up? There were 7 countries represented, Paul. 7 countries that were at Vision.
Wow.
It is a leading event. It's no joke. 7 countries, I think 3,500 people attended. I can't even remember the amount of hours that were trained on. And this is not only technical training, which a lot of it is hands-on, but this is management training, service advisor training. This is all encompassing. And it's just one example of the type of events that are going on out there. It happens to be one of my favorite because of the barbecue surrounding the event.
Okay.
I love it. But no, it's phenomenal. And you've got to it doesn't matter whether you pick Vision or you pick Ratchet and Wrench or you do one of your local chapter events, get into something. It's just Vision happens to be one of the more well-known ones right now. But there's way more out there than just Vision. It's abundant. Even if I may, Automotive Management Institute. Those
the
guys
AMI. Sure.
Killing it.
Yep.
They have full-blown career paths that they will start you on, and you follow the career path all the way through. And by the end, you get a designation that you are proud of and you've earned. I think I've got something like 320 class hours in Automotive Management Institute, and I still find stuff that I haven't taken. I mean, there's just so many different vehicles out there for this educational piece.
Yeah, AMI is one of the older companies in this industry, and they're probably one of the most well-known. So Mary Steele is the director, and she's a recipient of a Golden Wrench Award. So you can reach her at msteele at STEELE at amionline.org. If you haven't been to amionline.org, go and just read some of the reviews and talk to some of the other people in the industry. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. AMI is probably one of the best training, and Vision are probably some of the top training outlets that they have out there. So Vision even had Ed Milet, which I really, really like. I get up in the morning and exercise and I listen to Ed Milet. So she had him as a speaker this year. That's a big name. It's, so that's pretty cool. So can you share a memorable customer experience or a success story that reflects the shop's business values?
Wow. To nail that down to one, that's
there's too many. I know. Good shops do what, when I was a kid, you'd come in and, hey, you had this problem, and the mechanic back in the old days, and the guy would, when you paid $0.25 for a light bulb and you could install it yourself, you'd go in for something and they would tweak something or do something. And then you're like, well, how much do I, oh, nothing, So, and then of course they're like, hey, gee, thanks. And then when something really does go wrong, who do they think of? The person that was kind to them and gave them a break on something. So I'm sure that you've got a lot of them, but if you can just think of one, that would be great.
I really think for us, the generational piece is really cool. When Todd started the shop in '84, he was working with his client base. When I came on in 1999, I was working for the kids of his client base. Now my service advisors are working for the grandkids of those original customers in Todd's database.
Man,
and so
that's
when
amazing.
you have the generational aspect and the grandkids or the kids start telling stories about their parents' visits or how long their parents have been coming to see us, that is such an amazing experience to hear those stories. And we'll get customers in the lobby that have never met. And because of the attitude and the environment of the shop and how much fun we're having on a day-to-day basis, they get into it. Next thing you know, customers are meeting each other and they're talking about their families and how they came to us. And it's just an incredible piece. We actually went to state of our local chamber address, and we were awarded a nice little plaque for 15 years of service within our local chamber of commerce. And to be able to be in a room with all of these local business leaders and heavy hitters, that means so much to us that we're able to have that piece woven into the fabric of our vision and our mission. And like we always say, do the right thing at the right time for the right reason. Yeah. We stick to that. That's our North Star every time we hit the ocean.
Cool. Yeah, I just did a short video on shop burnout and how it's real and the negative impacts and the positive ramifications of taking care of it. And one of the things is a reputation. So when you get to be a shop like yours, you're active in the community, the techs don't bounce around, they stay with you guys, then that draws other top techs to you. And I'm sure you've had that happen, right? Throughout the years?
Yeah, we have.
Come to you and I said, I've been working over here, but don't really like it. And I heard about you guys. How many times have you had that happen over the last 30 years?
A number. It's
right.
Cool.
So they trained them and then they left because they weren't focusing on culture. They weren't focusing on the customers. So the customers is the same thing. You focus on the customers, you do a nice job with the customers, you have a nice attitude, aura going on inside the waiting room there, and just reflects, especially with your referrals, hey, I just moved to town. Who do you use? Oh, hey, go here. go to Colchin. So
We were talking about stories, and we had a customer come in. It was a couple months, and you could tell just on the look on her face she wasn't in a good place. And my advisor Colin asked her what was going on, and she just started breaking down crying right at the front counter.
shit.
And
Okay.
so
Really?
Colin,
Okay.
without even a mention, jumps out of his chair, goes around his desk. He has his arm around this lady. We're not even talking automotive repair at this point. It doesn't even matter. We're talking about life and what somebody's going through.
Sure.
And so to see one of my teammates have that compassion and be able to put down the service advisor badge for a minute and just show the humanity side of life,
Mhm.
it was a blessing for sure.
How do you approach competition in the industry? Do you see it as a threat or an opportunity?
That's a great question, Paul, because in our local area, we kind of have a little mini gasoline alley going. And so what we've done is we've made friends with the shops in our area because we don't directly compete. We overlap slightly, but a lot of our referrals come from other shops. And so
Okay.
your shops don't do XYZ work, so they send it to us. We don't do XYZ work, we send it to them. So we've got this really sweet little ecosystem built with the shops in our area where we're all there, but there's enough cars on the road for everybody.
Sure.
It's just what do you want to work on and what can you send other people to help them out? So, we've got like a shop down the street that just focuses on German. Cool. I'll send you what I can.
Sure.
We're one of the only ones that does a lot of diesel work in our area. So everybody's sending
Okay.
us diesel work.
All right.
But competition it's got a negative connotation to it. And I've never been a big fan of that. I want to have allies and assets within our industry. Now, do we keep our eyes on what the heavy hitters are doing? Yeah, I think it's important to know what your heavy hitters are doing. Do we want to do it the same way they do it? Heck no, we want our own flavor. But you'd be a little head in the sand if you don't at least keep a little bit of an eye on your bigger competition.
Sure. Yep. Yep. So I just talked with a shop down in Alabama, same thing. They've got their competition, but some shops do this, some shops do that. They send each other business all the time. And it's a real friendly atmosphere. And that's really good to get in a town. And it takes the cooperation of the other shop owners to really work together and say, hey, you got diesel, hey, go to Colchin's. Oh, German, you got a Mercedes, hey, I got a shop right over here that does that. Specialize in that. Go ahead and go there. So, and that it's a big pond out there is a great attitude because my wife and I belong to a mastermind group that meets in Miami 3 times a year. And it's around 250 independent digital marketing agency owners. And we all get together and share valuable, and I too mean valuable information. So to a point, unless we got a direct competitor in the same niche, but it's amazing what we learn by pulling our resources together. So, and it's made our alliance with this mastermind group has made a huge difference in the results of our clients by following the information that we get and we share when we go to these meetings. So that's a really, really, really good thing. So what are your thoughts on work-life integration? Because a lot of shop owners, like I was telling before, I just did a video on burnout. We would need to get it up on the social media channels and how it affects things. But what is your thought on work-life balance? I mean, do you put in a set amount of hours per week and that's it? Weekends are off, or how do you do it?
Yeah, you said it. Work-life balance. It's one of the trickier pieces in just life in general. We're 7:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, shut it down. Everybody gets their weekend. At the same time, you've got to build in some flexibility too, that, deaths are going to happen in the family, major milestones, anniversaries, birthdays are going to happen. And so having that flexibility to say, you know what, ex-technician, you go take the time to be with your family. We got it here. We'll move some things around on the schedule to make room. You go be with your family. Period. End of story. We've got this. We'll figure it out. And even taking, we've been very blessed. And so we like to take the day before Christmas off, the day before Thanksgiving off to really stretch out that time a little bit that people will spend with their families. And so just really looking at what you got going, how can we move some things around to really make some gaps where people don't feel like they're chained to the business. Because at the end of the day, you mentioned it, burnout's a killer. And
Yep.
if you
And it's
allow
real.
it to happen in your shop, your burnout will just run through your shop like a wildfire in a dry forest.
Yep. And it affects everybody else's attitudes. And like I said, I just did a very concise, in-depth video on this, the signs to look out for and how to deal with it. So delegating is a big one. Let me close up the podcast with this one. And this is probably one of my favorite questions to ask. What advice would you give to a new shop owner just getting started this year?
Do it.
That's
Do it.
what-
Do it. Do it. Do it. Our automotive industry is incredible. We've got so many exciting things going on in our industry. Recapping some of the things we talked about, from the education that's out there, the experience that can be gained by taking somebody's vehicle and making it reliable for them so that they're able to go have fun, or they're able to get to work, make sure their kids get to soccer practice. Our industry is a lot of fun. I think that coming out of the dark ages of greasy facilities and the negative
Yep.
appearance that automotive had for such a long time, the Gomer Pyle effect, actually letting the sun shine on our industry and pulling the veil back and going, how cool is this that we're working with these emerging technologies, that we're able to provide facilities that support people's families. This puts bread directly on people's table. And so if you want an exciting, challenging, invigorating, frustrating, you name any other adjective, automotive will provide it
We'll
for you.
provide it
So
for you.
a young shop owner, get in the game. The water's just fine here.
Yep, that's awesome. So yeah, unfortunately, the automotive industry has negative connotations. Local service ads, I'm doing a workshop on the 18th on Google Business Profile, how to get ranked in that. So all the things that you can do. Unfortunately, the automotive industry is one of distrust. Local service ads, which are the ads above the paid ads on Google, you can't get them unless you're a shop in Florida or California, because you've got it's Google guaranteed. So they're guaranteeing they didn't want to touch the automotive industry. So they did plumbing, they did electric, they did everything. So they're rolling out right now, and most shop owners don't know this. I'm putting it in that workshop. If you're a shop in California or Florida, you should be taking advantage of LSA ads. It's the cheapest pay-per-click ad, or the best value pay-per-click ad that you can possibly get. But it's that negative experience. So your website must instill trust the very second that it loads. And there's all kinds of subconscious psychological triggers that we know that work. And if you want to find out what they are, contact us, or I'll send you my workshop I did in February, how to get your website to maximize, to convert at the highest level possible. What is all the research that we know currently today that if you apply to a website, can get the website to convert a little better. So Josh, thanks for your time today. You really provided some great insight and information. I really appreciate the time. So thank you very much. We appreciate it a lot.
Appreciate you, Paul.
Right.
Thank you.
For additional automotive resources and exclusive content, follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all our episodes. Thanks again for joining us in the driver's seat, and we'll see you next time for another thrilling episode of Top Shop.